drive. Tatum the finish. It is banner 18. The mission commanding is mission accomplished.
What's up, everyone? This is Noa Dalzell, and I just got home from TD Garden where the Celtics defeated the Indiana Pacers 142-105 in what was as good of a response as you could possibly hope for if you are a Celtics fan. After an uncharacteristic 2-game slide, they lost 2 games in a row for the first time this season, 3 of 4, 4 of 7. So a couple weeks now where they just haven't been playing their best basketball, and I think Joe Mazzulla's made a point of naming the fact that they've been playing inconsistent basketball. Jason Tatum said they each need to look in the mirror and kind of figure out how to be better. And you saw that today. You saw a basketball team that just came out from the jump with a greater connectivity on both ends. I thought the ball movement was exceptional, especially compared to the last couple of games where I felt like the ball was really sticking. And then defensively, there was just a level of attention to detail, of intensity that was just, I think, missing, especially, at least on Christmas Day. Maybe not every one of those games in the last few weeks has been poor on that front. So we'll talk a little bit about this game. We'll also talk a little bit about Jaylen Brown, who I think is the hero or the main event of tonight's game. And last Saturday, I was in Chicago where Jason Tatum, I thought, put an all-time performance together. Jaylen Brown tonight had one of the best games of his career, at least from a scoring standpoint. I mean, he's had bigger games, obviously, in the playoffs and in the finals. But this was the third highest scoring game of his career. He finishes this one with 44 points on 16 of 24 shooting. He shoots 6 of 11 from 3. He's perfect at the line, 6 of 6 from the line. And then I think defensively, he was one of the tone setters. Finishes this game with 4 steals. And just for context on the steals front, the Celtics only had 3 steals as a team last game, 0 with 3 minutes to play. So 4 steals certainly helping set the tone there. The Celtics finished with 9 overall as a team. And the steals, I don't think, always capture defensive impact. In fact, they probably don't capture defensive impact very well. But it is, I think, when Jaylen's at his best, he's active on that end. He's getting loose balls. He's getting deflections. So Jaylen, I thought from the jump, you could just see he was locked in. He finishes the first quarter 6-6 from the field. He actually makes his first 9 field goals. And what stood out to me was just he has this level when he can just lock in, and he elevates his game to, I don't want to say that other guys aren't capable of getting there, but you could just tell when he's locked in that he's not even noticing anything around him. He's not noticing the ref. He's not thinking about, the defense. Like, it's just him and the ball and the basket. And I asked him about what that's like post game to be in that position where you're just on such a roll when you're starting 99 from the field, the crowd's going crazy. And I said, obviously none of us know what that feels like. Even those of us that have played basketball, I play basketball. I had a great game in front of my high school fans. I don't think it's a comparable experience to what Jaylen Brown experienced today and what these guys experience all the time. And he said that you're just kind of in the zone. You're not really thinking about anything. You're not thinking about the officials. Everything is just kind of coming easy. It's just a rhythm. And so he is such a rhythm player. And I thought in the Christmas Day game, he started the game 1 of 8 from the field. He had 4 turnovers in the first half. He was really just, nothing was clicking for him. And then he finds a little bit of a rhythm in the third quarter. And I don't know that that's what got him going today, but certainly he picked up where he left off on that front. So great game for him. He was awesome in this one. Obviously, it wasn't just him. Pritchard was excellent off the bench. He finishes with 18 points, shot 7 of 16 from the field, 10 assists and 8 rebounds. So he was actually 2 rebounds shy of a triple-double, and everybody at TD Garden knew it. At one point down the stretch with 5 minutes to go, he was still in the game, and Nimi got a rebound and Jordan Walsh got a rebound. And the crowd was like, get out of this guy's way, because everybody wanted to see him get a triple-double. He's had one before. But obviously that's always fun to watch. And he was well aware of the fact that he was 2 rebounds short, especially because the crowd was not making it any easier to ignore, because they're all kind of yelling his name and everything and kind of oohing and eyeing when other guys were getting boards. But he said post-game he's never going to chase those kinds of stats, that they're going to come naturally. He wants it to actually mean something. And he subbed out with a few minutes to go, and Joe closed with the end of bench guys, Jaden Springer, Jordan Walsh, Xavier Tillman, Drew Peterson. So Pritchard did not get his triple-double, but still a great bounce-back game for him, because he's had a few games here where he's struggled as well. So couple of different guys were able to find a rhythm that hadn't been able to find one these last few games. Pritchard and Jaylen did their post-game press conference together. You can find that entire press conference on CLNS Media. I also posted some clips on my Twitter, but it was great to see them. I don't know that I've seen them do a press conference before. Pritchard's doing something with Jaylen Brown's shoes, the 741 performance shoes. We're not sure. He hasn't explicitly explained it. I have a feeling he might be like an endorsed athlete. He's been wearing the shoes quite a bit. They are obviously very close. They both spoke very highly of each other post-game. Jaylen was talking about how it's important for him that Pritchard gets Sixth Man of the Year. Pritchard was talking about Jaylen's defensive capabilities and how he thinks that he should be all defense. So the two were kind of hyping each other up. It was nice. I love when guys do post-game press conferences together. I just think that you get to see a little bit of another side to them where they interact with one another. It seems less painful to me, at least. I know Jason Tatum and Jarek White did a couple of those earlier this season, and they just create nice moments. So if I was PR for the Celtics, or if I was a player, I would be doing more of those, because I think that it just cultivates a nice feeling, and it just makes everything feel a little bit less formal and high pressure. So they did their press conference together today, and then Jordan Walsh was in the locker room talking to media, and he is also, I thought, had maybe his best performance as a Celtic. I don't want to say bounce back because he hasn't played of late, but he played 21 minutes in this one, finishes with 9 points and 5 rebounds, 3 of which were offensive, 2 assists. And with a guy like Jordan, it's less about the box score. Like, I know people have been concerned about a shot, or like not sure what his offense is. Ultimately, his offense is, it's not going to be a finished product. He's not going to be a knockdown 3-point shooter. But even so, I thought that he hit 2 of 3 threes today. He had his first 2 3-pointers of the game, which obviously is a great sign. But it's just defensively, he's able to make an impact. Joe Mazzulla talked about post-game of that. You don't always see, people aren't always necessarily watching Jordan Walsh on every given possession. But he said it's his angles, it's his physicality that just really makes him a special defender. And then also in this one, he was attacking the glass. He got several rebounds that were kind of out of his zone. And you could see that. You don't need to be a basketball expert to have kind of seen that and recognize the fact that he was being really, really aggressive on the board. So for him, this is his second season with the team. He didn't spend much time in Boston last year. I think it's fair to say that this was his best game as a Celtic. So those are the 3 guys that talked to the media. And other guys' performances almost went unnoticed. Jason Tatum put together quietly a very good basketball game. He scored 22 points, 13 rebounds. That's 5 consecutive games for him where he's grabbed at least 10 rebounds and 20 points, which I think it's been since Anton Walker since somebody's actually done that, which is pretty remarkable. Also finished with 3 steals and 4 assists. So just an all-around good game for him. So a lot of contributions from a lot of different guys right now. And I think what stood out to me was just Jaylen as a tone setter. I think that might be when this team is at their best. And I'm not saying that as a shot at anybody else or saying that Tatum can't be the tone setter. But if you really look at it, Jaylen was the tone setter a lot during these last playoffs, in the Eastern Conference Finals, in the finals, was awarded as such. And I really do think that he has a certain leadership quality about this team that resonates with people, and also just in a way that he plays on both ends of the floor where he guards opposing teams' best players. And that really resonates with people. I thought he did a really good job on Halliburton tonight when he had that matchup. So he's at his best when he's being really defensive minded. And in this game, he approached it from the jump with a level of focus and attention to detail and kind of thinking about Halliburton's habits and all that. And I think the things that we don't always think about or talk about, he was kind of all over it. And so really as good of a bounce back game as you could hope for from a guy who was struggling a little bit here. You can't deny that the Christmas Day game was a layer below average performance for him. And I think, if you're a fan and you're not sure about Jaylen Brown at this point, I don't know what to tell you, because this is a guy that has already shown you that he's at his, he can be the best player on the floor in the most important moments. He was obviously Eastern Conference Finals and Finals MVP. And so to me, it's you have to just trust that, he's going to get through his struggles. If he has a stretch here where he's not playing as well, it's just basketball, and ultimately water finds its level, and guys that are struggling are able to, get into a good rhythm after that. So yeah, just a great performance by him. And just the fact that he made his first 9 shots, it just got the building going too. And I think the fans here on Christmas were kind of disappointed. I don't know how many of the same people were here, but they certainly saw quite the opposite of a show here. So that's, I think for me, it just as a basketball fan, like just always a pleasure and a privilege to be in the building when these types of performances take place, because you're just thinking to yourself like, wow, this is an all-time performance of a guy who was an all-time player. Third, highest scoring performance of his career. I think there's been games where he's been more of a playmaker. There's games where maybe defensively he's had enormous impact or consequential plays down the stretch. And those are the games that I'm going to remember when I think about Jaylen Brown. But from a scoring standpoint, this is really as good as it gets.
PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. You can pick anything that you think is likely to happen. So I would pick Payton Pritchard, certain number of threes, whatever it is, pretty safe, assurance at this point that he is going to hit that. Anything that you feel has been a pretty consistent pattern, those are the types of trends that you can capitalize on PrizePicks. You can make your holidays bigger and brighter with PrizePicks, the best place to get real money action while watching your favorite sports. Join now, because this holiday season, PrizePicks is giving away 2 free picks in December, and they're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Picksmas. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game.
So we talked a little bit about Jaylen. I do want to just spend maybe a little bit more time on that, because I feel like he's one of those guys where, he's always compared to Tatum. Obviously, I think we've moved past that and evolved, especially with his playoff performance. But Pritchard said something post-game, and I think he made a good point, and that's that he's typically guarding the opposing team's best player. And sometimes he makes, his defensive mistakes are very loud, and like all of a sudden he gets backdoor caught. And they're fewer and far between like than they used to be when he was younger. But on every given play, like Jaylen is guarding the best player on the floor most of the time. And it's not Drew Holiday, it's not Derek White, it's not Jason Tatum. Like it typically is Jaylen, and not every single night, but for the most part. And sometimes that involves him guarding point guards. That involves him guarding players like Luka or James Harden or Damian Lillard or Steph Curry. And it's really, really remarkable to be his size. Like he's a wing, right? He's 6'9". He's not a guard. He's built like a wing, and he guards these guards night in and night out. And then he also shoulders this load offensively. And so I figured, tonight was his night. I did an episode pretty heavily focused on Jason Tatum last week. And ultimately, I just want to give him his flowers for what he does on both ends, because it does sometimes go unnoticed. And when Pritchard said that, I know they're good friends. I know they went up there on the podium and were kind of hyping each other up, which is cool. But he is right. I don't know that we give him enough credit for that. I think everybody appreciates him, especially after the postseason. But it takes a toll on you offensively as well to have that matchup, because of not just the physical toll that it takes, because a lot of times he's picking up, 3/4 of the way, but also just from a mental standpoint, like the focus that it takes and thinking about, if you're guarding Steph Curry or you're guarding Damian Lillard, or you're guarding Tyrese Halliburton, like these, and those are obviously all different caliber players, but all of those guys, like you have to be completely dialed in to a different degree than if you're just guarding somebody else on the floor. And obviously all NBA players you have to pay attention to, but there's a different level of, I think, mental scrutiny that he has to kind of deal with. So just another good reminder. I mean, Halliburton was okay in this one. He finished the game with 19 points, 6 of 13 shooting, but he's not the same guy that I think we remember from last year, who was one of the best guards in the league for the first half of the season. So Bobby Manning and I did a pregame podcast from the studios today. You can check that out. We talked a little bit about just the Celtics in general, Jimmy Butler, some other things, and then also previewed this 2-game series, because this is the first of 2 games they're going to play against Indiana. Indiana will be back in Boston on Sunday, so they're here for the weekend, 6 o'clock tip. So a little bit of an earlier start, and the Celtics have a chance to start stringing together some wins before they go out west. Tuesday, they host the Raptors on New Year's Eve, and then on Wednesday, they go out west to face Minnesota, Houston, Oklahoma City, Denver. So really challenging slate that I think will be a lot of fun and will hopefully be engaging for them too, because I do think that there's something to be said about playing, teams with stars and just playing different competition. And, when you're playing the Raptors and the Nets and the Hornets, like there's a certain level of energy that I think the stars break out in you. And we saw that with like Giannis and Damian Lillard and everything. So yeah, that I'm excited for that. I'll be on the ground covering a lot of those games. I think I'm in almost every road game in January, with the exception of Minnesota and the Pelicans. So I'll be in most of these. I'll be doing post-game podcasts like this one, just kind of instant reactions. Obviously, you can also find my post-game analysis on the Garden Report, which you can find on CLNS Media, where we talk through instantly right after games end. We'll kind of get right into everything. Also stream the press conferences there. And I want to talk, before we wrap here, I also want to talk a little bit about some of the bench play and some of the Sam Hauser stuff that I've been seeing. Before that, let's hear from our friends over at Game Time.
There's nothing I love more than going to watch Celtics games, NBA games, and just going to events in general, and I always use Game Time for all of my ticketing needs. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. So right now I'm looking for the Game Time app. I see that there is a Christmas Day game against the 76ers, and I can click on that and I can actually see not just what the seat options are, but what the view of the court will be, because Game Time offers seat views, where you get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. There's also a lowest price guarantee, where Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference, and there is all-in pricing, so you can actually see the total upfront price, no surprise fees at checkout. So I'm looking right now. Usually my holiday gifts are tickets to different sporting events that I know my friends and family will be interested in, and I always use Game Time for all of those purchases. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time.
So I want to talk a little bit about Sam Hauser, because he's one of the few guys that didn't find much of a rhythm in this one, and he played 19 minutes. I think he's on a minutes restriction, although it hasn't been explicitly stated and never will be. But he was 0-5 from 3, but he did have 2 mid-range shots where he just kind of up-faked, got the defender past him, and then took a mid-ranger and made 2 of those. And so it was good to see the ball go through the hoop for him. He has, he attempted a total of 1 shot in the last 2 games combined, and then he missed the 2 previous games before that. So he actually hasn't hit a 3-pointer in a couple of weeks here since the Wizards game. So Hauser's going through it. We talked to him in shoot-around today. It was obvious that he's frustrated. He's a little bummed. I honestly felt bad that that's who they gave us a shoot-around, because he hasn't been doing much on the floor, and he's been battling this back injury. And I don't think he really felt like talking to the media, although he's always nice and polite. But he's been dealing with lower back pain that's been listed at points, back spasms that's been listed at points. And it's something somewhat recurring. There's some level of chronic pain there that he's dealing with. I don't know if it's, they haven't used the terminology chronic or recurring, so I don't want to put words in their mouth, but that's what it seems like, at least as an outsider. And we're never going to get a ton of detail about what he's facing, but it has clearly bothered him. And beyond just whether or not he's feeling pain on the floor, he's missed time here and there, and he's a rhythm player. He's a 3-point shooter. It has impacted him. It's going to impact him. And so I would just say, this is not really my job to say this. You guys can say whatever you want, but I just think that everyone should cut him a little bit of slack. I've seen a lot of discourse around whether his contract was worth it or whether he should be traded. This is a guy ultimately that in the finals hit 11 3-pointers in 5 games, was really a reliable player on both ends, has just shown us last season he was so reliable all year. And his shooting is not he's not a streak. He's not a fluke shooter. He's not a guy that just had 1 hot season and then got signed on a multi-year deal. He has since high school, I said this before, but he's literally never shot below 40% in any season in his career. So right now he's below that. I still think that he's going to get there, because that's just, odds are that he water finds his level. But even if he's, slightly below that and it's the first time in his career, I have full faith that throughout this contract, he's going to find his rhythm, and he's going to just be comfortable out there and be the guy that he was so valuable to this team last season. And so I do have concerns about his injury. I don't know all the details, and I worry that maybe he won't be, maybe he won't be able to be at full health, anytime soon, or I don't know exactly what exactly is going on. It's hard to assess because we don't really have much information. But I do think if anybody was surprised that he was not finding a good rhythm from 3 early in this game, you really shouldn't be, because he's taken a total of 1 combined shot in multiple weeks heading into this one. and he's a shooter. Like I totally understand that it would take a little bit of time, and so it was good to see a couple go in, and maybe next game he finds a rhythm from three, and he's due for one of these nights where he hits 6 or 7 3-pointers. But the same way that last year in the fall, Pritchard really struggled from downtown. Like he's gonna find his level. Obviously, it doesn't change the fact that they need wings. They need a backup wing. I think Jordan Walsh showed some promising signs today. Drew Peterson was with Boston. He played just 8 minutes. Outside of that, I don't know. Jaden Springer played 8 minutes. I mean, those were more kind of in the blowout final minutes there. But if Hauser can stay healthy, get healthy, then I think that's your backup guy. I don't know that I have full confidence that anybody else is ready for real playoff minutes right now. But I do want to shout out Jordan Walsh for he's getting better. He's making a leap. I watched him a lot in Maine last year. He played 1 game in Maine this year, and he had decided to go up there just on his day off. And he was awesome in Maine, and he's been increasingly better in his stints in Boston, increasingly more comfortable. Like you're more likely to hit a couple threes after, it's not your first time checking into an NBA game than he was in September when he really hadn't been in that position at all. So it was good to see him shoot them confidently today. Obviously, it was good to see them go in, but ultimately, he's going to sometimes make them, sometimes miss them, and that's not really what he's there for. He's there to play good defense, play hard, get rebounds, and all that. So I'll keep these short. Appreciate you all for tuning in. You can find these post-game reaction podcasts for You Got Boston on my YouTube channel, You Got Boston Podcast, or on CLNS. And also just want to shout out, on CLNS, you can find all the press conferences. If you want to hear what Jordan Walsh had to say, if you want to hear what Payton Pritchard and Jaylen Brown had to say, if you want to watch the Garden Report, you can do all that on CLNS Media. With that, Celtics are off tomorrow, Sunday, probably when you're watching this podcast. Today's Saturday. It's 1 a.m., so I'm already confusing my day. So Saturday, Celtics are off. Sunday, Celtics play the Pacers again. Second game of a mini series. I love these mini series because it gives teams a chance to adapt and make some corrections and adjustments, and it has a little bit of a playoff feel. Obviously, not the same stakes, but the feeling of coming back and facing the same opponent. So we'll be in the house for that. We'll have coverage from TD Garden. Second to last game before 2025. So thanks everybody for following along this past year. It's been an awesome year covering this team, and I think that this was an encouraging game, really punctuated by Jaylen Brown and led by him, but it was just an all-around team effort. So we'll wrap with that. Thanks everyone, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.